Uvalde, Texas School Board has appointed a new interim police chief after the city's former leader was fired. Josh Gutierrez will begin his new role today. Pete Arredondo was fired in August, you may recall, after facing backlash for his handling of the Robb Elementary School mass shooting in May that left 19 students and 2 teachers dead. The Uvalde interim superintendent called Gutierrez's appointment the first step in rebuilding the school district's police force.
School shootings continue to be a perennial and uniquely American epidemic. Just this week, 3 students were shot and killed at the University of Virginia.
In a new CBS Reports documentary, Lilia Luciano traveled to Texas after 19 children and 2 teachers were killed in Uvalde. Victims and survivors' families have been leading the fight for gun control as other school districts in the state are seeing an increase in the number of teachers being armed.
Today's deadly mass shooting is just the latest in what has sadly become a common occurrence in the United States.
The U.S. is in the grip of an epidemic.
The carnage in our nation's schools has become painfully repetitive.
The search for solutions divide communities into 2 camps.
It shouldn't have to be your teacher's job to protect your life.
More restrictions or more guns.
It's a little bit different hugging a 5-year-old when you have a gun strapped to your side.
I don't think it's worth the risk.
This is an exercise.
We approach it as it's your students or them.
Could a district allow teachers to be armed without requiring any of the training?
Yes.
In Texas, where families are grieving the tragedy in Uvalde.
Now one more child!
I promised my daughter I was going to fight. It's going to keep on happening.
Pro-gun advocates are training teachers to be the first line of defense.
What we're training these folks for is combat. This is combat.
It's wild that you have to train for combat in school.
Yeah, it's insane. But here we are.
The CBS News correspondent Lilia Luciano is joining us now here in Studio 57. She has been covering this story for us from the ground from the very beginning. You were there, right after the shooting. But I want to ask you, this happens all the time after tragedies like this, that suddenly people, start calling their representatives. They want something done. I wonder if after the Uvalde shooting, was there an increased interest in programs like this, programs that talk about arming teachers?
Yeah, I think one of the things, Anne-Marie, that I learned spending so much time this year in Texas, unfortunately, since the day that this shooting happened, is just how part of the culture in Texas guns are, all kinds of guns. And so, especially in a place like Texas, where people are really afraid of losing in any way, shape, or form any part of their Second Amendment rights, even if that's not the intention, solutions like this one come up. In other places, people might think, well, it's crazy to think that the teachers are going to be armed. And, for me, one of my observations is thinking that of all the teachers that I had throughout all of my schooling, I can't imagine one that would be up for this. What we wanted to do with this documentary, especially after I've been covering this extensively, is we kept focusing on the police response. And it's been, of course, there's been so many failures, and that's a really important story. But this documentary, provided us the opportunity to really experience a debate that happens in Texas and in states where guns are so embedded in the culture that, because it's so hard to pass any form of legislation that limits the ability of obtaining guns, what are those solutions that come up and everything that can go wrong in those solutions or, anything that can go right. But, I'll say in a place like Texas, the teachers that we followed and talked to and heard from, they've all grown up with guns. So it's one of those things where you wonder, it's very different for me. I didn't grow up shooting or hunting than for a teacher or anybody in Texas that is part of that culture.
Right.
I guess the question is what kind of training and regulations would be in place for teachers? Because as you know, Lilia, having covered the tragedy in Uvalde, you had trained law enforcement professionals on the scene, people who presumably go through not just days or weeks or months of training. They are trained on a regular and consistent basis. That is their job, to carry a weapon and oftentimes deploy it in the service of their jobs to protect the people and children, which in this case they did not do. So what kind of training would be in place for these teachers? You're right. I can't imagine Mr. Myrie, my high school English teacher, carrying a gun. You know, this is a guy who wore sweater vests and plaid ties.
These teachers may carry guns in their regular life, but it's a completely different ask when you're in a classroom.
And also having to make the decision whether or not to kill another human being.
Yeah. That's a big question that we explore in the documentary and that I asked, all the teachers that I spoke with there. In Texas, there is no requirement for any kind of training. It is up to the districts and the schools to just give a written permission for somebody to carry a weapon, on campus. And you're right. How much training is enough training is one of the big questions. How do you, make sure that things are stored in a way, but also accessible in a way? It is just, to me, it was just such a mind-blowing experience to watch the training, to witness how they're preparing, and to think of all the ways in which this could have gone wrong. But most of all, why this is happening in this country. Why this is something that's almost exclusively an American problem. And it is because, of the rights that we protect in our Constitution around guns. And so I ask a lot of questions in the documentary to the people who are, trying to push for more gun reform, as well as the people who are trying to undo whatever existing legislation. And as we saw in this county where Uvalde is, and this county was one of those that helped elect Governor Greg Abbott this time around after witnessing all of this. And so you wonder, and really what I gathered from a lot of people on the ground is that there's people who really fervently believe that more guns can only be fought with more guns, that there's already too many guns in the country, and the way to protect yourself is to have a bigger gun, basically. And so it is this exchange of just arming more people, and those are the solutions that politically have made sense for some politicians. But we also question how much is in the messaging, how much is an actual organic demand from voters, as opposed to, why do you actually believe this, and what makes sense and what doesn't? And we tell this story as we follow these characters, Jacqueline Cáceres and Javier Cáceres, the father and the sister, Jasmine Cáceres, the father and the sister of Jacqueline Cáceres, who was killed there, and who have not had an opportunity to grieve because from May 24th up until today, they continue advocating in their county, in their city, at their school board meetings, at the Capitol.
What do they want?
They want an assault weapons ban. But they also say, we know how hard that is to pass. So right now what they're asking for is to raise the minimum age to get a semi-automatic rifle from 18 to 21, which exists for handguns. And so it's a very fascinating debate. And, of course, we approach it with openness and understanding and respect for all of the voices that are represented. And of course, care for these families who we've spent so much time with throughout this year.
It's a fascinating documentary. I watched it last night. It asks a lot of questions, but also provides ideas of what people should be thinking about when they approach this subject.
I think you can't have the conversation without acknowledging that guns are part of the culture.
That's right.
In Texas, but across the country.
Yeah. And you're reporting, Lilia, you've done it with humanity and obviously with rigorous attention to detail and to the facts and to be fair, but also your humanity shines through in this reporting, and that's why it's so important. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you so much, and thank you to Justin Sherman and Matt Morrison here from CBS Originals. It's a small team, but it's incredibly talented and hardworking. And Tony Puyol, who is my friend and director of photography, who films all these documentaries and is really dedicated to the same kind of humanity.
Yeah. Excellent.